Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Welcome to the Chaos Coordinators with Tessie Reagan and Kelly Dawn. Hi, Kelly.
Hello, Tessie.
So today we're going to be talking about the landscape of childcare in the United States, and we're going to have amazing guests, and we're going to introduce ourselves so everybody can get to know us. So our first guest is Emma. Hi, Emma.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for welcoming me into the space. I appreciate it.
And we also will have Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, everyone. I look forward to speaking with you today.
And so we're going to just go in and we're going to introduce ourselves and where we're located so you can get to know what we're doing in our different areas. So I'm Tessie. I'm located in Rosamond, California. It's a super small town, rural, and we're right next to a military base. Yeehaw. And so now I'm going to have Emma introduce you. Oh, I own a large family childcare home. Super sorry. And now we're going to introduce Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma Biggs. I am located in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I operate a center, a large center, right here. And I've been in childcare and been an educator for 27 years.
All right, and Rebecca?
I am Rebecca. I'm in Northern California. I've operated a small family childcare for over 10 years. Previous to this, I was actually a credentialed teacher, and my degree areas are social science, but also home economics, which is family and consumer sciences.
Oh, I love that. I think I would have got a degree in that if I had known that existed. It might have helped me with my baking. And then Miss Kelly Dawn, she's the co-host with me, and you tell us about yourself.
Well, Tessie, you mentioned I'm Kelly Dawn Jones. I go by Ms. with an MZ, Kelly Dawn, and I'm from Indiana, and I'm a family childcare, a substitute training agency for childcare, and an advocate for early childhood education. And I've been in it for 15 years as a licensed professional. Prior to that, I had been nannying and teaching dance all over, wherever I could teach, wherever anyone would let me teach dance. I volunteered a lot with early learning programs, teaching dances and doing flash mobs as well.
Oh, why now I feel old? Because do y'all remember when flash mobs were a thing? Oh
Yes.
my God.
I still think they should be a thing. I have a degree in dance from Ball State University. I believe dance can change the world, honest to goodness. We should all be moving more, including myself, because I feel, I've missed out a lot on dance in recently because I haven't been teaching it. But yes, dance is my first true love of all loves in the world. So
That's amazing.
and I believe everybody can dance. Everybody, like, that's to me your first language. Is your first expressions are movement and vibing with your energy, with your environment and the people around you. So dance truly is to me the first language. So
they are actually, Kelly, that's a lower brain skill, and the research shows that you have to build those lower brain skills before you can build upper brain skills, which are academic skills. So that is in fact scientifically developmental.
So what you're saying is the fact that I do really bad dancing for my class is like
there's no such thing.
no such
There is no such
It's not bad dancing. It's understanding your body's movement in its environment. So there's no such thing as bad dancing.
I move like Jello.
I like Jello.
All right, so I
love Jello.
Jello is amazing. But we're going to show our cups, because one of the important parts of Chaos Coordinators is that we are business women. We control the chaos of our families and our businesses. And sometimes we get sleep in there when we haven't drank. Mm-hmm. And over amount of coffee. So my cup says, it's a beautiful day to leave me alone. And then don't know if you know this, but you can definitely tell I have teenagers with this cup.
Mhm.
Yes. Every time they come and ask me for money.
And my cup says National Domestic Workers Alliance. It's one of the organizations that I work with here in North Carolina. And so this is my special cup.
All right. And who's got the next cup?
Rebecca.
My cup is just blue with flowers
I love it.
because I just love it.
Pretty. It's such a classic cup.
It is. I love that cup.
Yeah. My cup says namaste home, drink wine, and hang with my dog. And it's a Goodwill cup
Love it.
gift from my daughter. And it makes me happy because she's telling me it's okay to chill out on Saturday. It's okay to relax, Mom. You don't have to be a busybody. You can just hang with the dog.
So we are going to talk about the landscape of childcare. So we're all going to get a chance to talk about what it looks like in our areas. So we all know that because of the pandemic, childcare has changed. It's come to the forefront of a lot of people, of what people are talking about, but not necessarily in all the best ways in our areas. Sometimes they ignore certain things that didn't need to be ignored, and they don't bring in people that should have been brought into the conversation. So we're going to start with Emma, and we're only going to take like a couple minutes each and talk about what it looks like in your area, and then talk about what you think could be improved.
Right now in North Carolina, we have a very unique situation in that last year we asked for $300 million on April the 20th for our grants to continue for compensation through the ARPA funds. When our budget came back, they gave us nothing. They said they will not provide us with any new or additional funding. And for our DHHS, Division of Child Development, to use whatever funds they have. So our Division of Child Development used the funds from other departments to continue stabilization grant funding for staff. So it was a two-part. You had the fixed cost and the compensation part. So they extended those until the end of December. And North Carolina still came back and said no more new funds. So they were able to sustain compensation funding until the end of this next month, in 2 months, June 30 of 2024. There was a report that came out a few weeks ago from the ECE and Care Council. We're looking at a third of our providers, centers and homes, 3 out of 10 closing by the end of the year. And that will be a direct result of about 91,000 to about 97,000 children that will lose care, whether it be they have to close classrooms, they have to close centers, because every provider is not able to pay and continue compensation funding that we received during this whole pandemic. So the pandemic that we're having now is in childcare. We're having a childcare pandemic. It is truly a childcare crisis. No one can find infant and toddler availability. So we are having a lot of actions in the month of May right here in North Carolina. It'll start with my action on May 13th here in Charlotte, the Day Without Childcare. But then we're going to Raleigh, and that's going to be our big state action. And we're asking them to give us the $300 million that they didn't give us last year, because they are very aware that we need this funding to keep our economy going in the state of North Carolina. So my staff and other employers and educators are still receiving compensation funding, but it will end at the end of June. And we know that there'll be a mass exodus of employees, of care workers, seasoned employees to leave. We've already had that during the pandemic. And new people coming in, they think they can come in, bless their hearts, making 19, 20, 25 bucks an hour with no education in early childhood. So do you pay them that, Or do you say, I'm sorry, I can't afford to pay you that because you have no education? Yet they're still pushing for the QRIS and the star rated licensing system here in North Carolina. And right now, that is important. Quality care is very important, but we need those employees, we need the staff, we need those seasoned workers to stay in those positions so that we can offer quality care, because brand new staff is not quality care, and that's been proven. So that's the state of play right now in North Carolina. And our state campaign is May 16th in Raleigh, and we plan on at least about 1,000 people to attend. So
That's amazing. I'm glad that you guys are taking action, because that's a huge downfall, that they promised these funds and then they were like, oops. And
basically,
yeah, like why would and I think we're seeing that in a lot of areas, right? Like I think, yeah, for
yes.
me and Rebecca, our entire state is in a deficit and stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, so what that will lead me into asking Rebecca, what is it like in your area? Because I'm in Southern, and you're in Northern California. So what's it like in your area?
For us, we have just a lot of kids that are leaving for the UPK that is being implemented. I haven't had another 4-year-old since 2021, I think, because the majority of them leave around 3 years old. When the governor instituted the plans for TK and UPK, our school district essentially felt like it just jumped in. And so we have district preschools, we have Head Starts, of course. And so just all of these things together, we aren't getting those older kids. And because of our infant age here in California, we have to count children as infants until 2 years old. So we don't have a lot of infant space available for those parents that need it, which then has essentially caused costs to rise.
That's it, yeah. The cost in California is outrageous. Do you know in some areas there are people that are paying $1,500, just $1,500? I do believe there was one a month. I saw somebody when I first got here. This was in 2016. I saw somebody when I first got here. They were charging $1,000 a week for infant care in some places, and I was like, yo, and stuff. But they really, when they decided to do UPK, they didn't decide to work with any of the communities that were already established. They didn't bring us into the conversation until there was enough people. And that's the best thing, going into these meetings with the Department of Education and seeing family childcare in the comments, going, so what about family childcare? How does this apply to family childcare? How are we supposed to do this for family childcare? And I'm like,
Hold on, Tessie, your camera's delaying. Did y'all see that too?
oh, did it delay? It should help. It should loop back in during the
Okay,
recording, so it should be fine.
okay, okay.
So yeah, I know California when they did that, but that's why me, Rebecca, and another one of our colleagues, Rita, were working on trying to get the infant ages changed. Or so I don't think of it as being changed as much as it being adjusted the way it should have been. So 18 months to 3 is basically toddler ages. And so that meeting was not fun for me. I do not like trying to censor myself. And we were at the table talking to these people, and I was very annoyed. We had it was us 3, and we are knowledgeable, we are educated, we are experts in what we're doing. And the lady that was mainly talking was, I felt it was very disrespectful, because the way she was approaching it was that we didn't know our jobs, we didn't know what was developmentally appropriate for the children, and that we didn't have the safety of the children and families in mind. And I don't know, have you guys had that experience when speaking to like people that are outside our field before, where you're just like, I think this would be a good idea for the families. And they're like, well, we're thinking about the children. And you're like, yeah, that's,
Families have children.
yes, we don't, that's why I work with children. This is why I think this would be a good idea for children. And just, and one of the phrases that caught me off guard was the fact that she said she wanted there to be no risk at all for them to adjust the ages to 18 months. No job has no risk. That is very much just unrealistic.
Life is not without risk.
Yeah. Yeah, my husband was like, I don't understand what she's saying. I mean, he was a cop in the military. I was a cop in the military. I mean, I don't look like I was anybody's cop, but I that's what I did. And there was no way every night that I put on my uniform and went to work, I was 5'4" and weighed like 100 pounds soaking wet. And I worked in Florida. So there was no night when on a Panama City spring break town that was without risk for a little 5'4", 100-pound me at that time. I missed that so much. But there was no time that my job was without risk. And just because I decided to shift over and do education, and I chose this environment, that doesn't mean that our jobs are without risk. We're working with people. Working with people is a risk. I mean, we stayed open during the pandemic. There's a risk that we could get COVID.
And die.
Yes. Oh, but Rebecca, what did they do for us with the waivers?
So during COVID, starting in 2020, they created a waiver for family childcare to apply to. In California, if you are a small family childcare home, if you only have 2 infants, you can have a total of 8 children. If you're large family childcare, if you only have 2 infants, you can have a total of 14 children. In 2020, they gave us a waiver that we could have 2 additional children during that time. So a small family childcare home could have 2 additional children of any age group for a total of 10 for 3 years during COVID. A large family childcare could have additional 2 for a total of 16 for the 3 years during COVID. So one of the questions she had said was they're concerned about the risk, but also about supervision. And so we said, okay, we understand supervision is a concern, but first of all, this is simply a 6-month adjustment. Developmentally, 18 to 24 months are closer to a 24-month-old than they are to a 6-month-old infant, but they're still counted in the same category. So by moving them, we can actually provide better supervision because those children aren't in the same age group. But also, you gave us 2 additional children during COVID, and we aren't asking for more children. We're simply asking to make a more developmentally appropriate age group. So this isn't a supervision, as in more children, concern that you gave us for 3 years during COVID. It's just an age adjustment.
And that was without supervision or without an additional person. They did give us those.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Tessie.
No.
No, but so they asked you guys to do this, right? Take on the extra, right?
Yes, so the essential personnel could find care.
So you as you're a family childcare provider. Tessie's a family childcare provider. So you save some butts, and now you're not getting what you need right now. Is that what I'm?
Yeah, they are now questioning. No, now they're questioning our professionalism, our expertise, and our ability to do our job. And now they're going, oh, well, some of these are open in apartments. Y'all didn't think about that while you were giving out the waivers for people to have 2 extra children. You didn't think about the space when you gave out these waivers. You didn't think about any of this. Nobody's asking to add on children. So your questions right now seem disingenuous and don't actually seem like you understand what we're doing, because none of this stuff came up. None of it came up.
And fire was the other concern that they said, well, we're concerned about the fire marshal and people evacuating. Well, insurance doesn't have an age ranges. When you have insurance, when you apply for insurance, your insurance company for family childcare doesn't ask you how many of each children are in each age group. It's simply the number of children that you're providing care for. And so that was another thing, that this was a very short meeting, so we really didn't have time to dive in to a lot of things in that respect. But that's another aspect of it. Did you ask the fire marshal when you added the waiver on for these places during COVID for 3 years?
And I'm going to tell you,
If you could do it then, we aren't asking for more children. We're
But
just
the fire marshal
asking-
needed his childcare at the time. That's the thing. They needed their childcare. They were like, I got to get to work. I got to pay my bills. So I got to find someplace to put this child.
Well-
in Indiana we're having similar issues.
Yep.
Tell us about Indiana, Kelly.
Yes.
Well, I didn't mean to cut you off, Rebecca. I sometimes
No, we'll get into that later.
Yeah, no.
Jump.
Yeah, we want to keep this going. Conversation time.
So they're deregulating family childcare. So the the
Tell me
original
about that. I want to know about that.
Yeah.
So we used to, up until July of this year, you can have 5 unrelated children to you in an unlicensed family childcare.
They also have that in New York, actually.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
and
Unrelated to you, as
Yeah.
long as it isn't more than 5. Once you have 6, you have to be licensed. 5 or less, you don't need a license.
Do they do that? in
And their
North
ages don't
Carolina?
matter either.
No, they don't. You go to jail in North Carolina.
Oh,
okay. See,
hot
They-
dog.
that's
yeah.
how. And to be frank, I love friend, family, neighbor
Yeah,
care.
that's
I don't
that's
want
what
to,
it sounds
as I
like.
say certain things, I don't ever want anyone to think I'm disrespecting anyone's choices or where they're choosing. But
Absolutely.
you're right. But equity in the services, if you're asking me to adhere to a license, you're going to, pay me for these efforts. But the push to deregulate and the push to deregulate family childcare and to massively invest in center ministry and public education childcare
Mhm.
and starve out the licensed family childcares in the meantime while you're working on your process is so evident here. And family childcares are really fed up. We waited last year for a big announcement about a grant initiative, and it was going to be, I went and got an estimate how to add on space to my house, because my home is a 770 square foot, 1-bedroom cottage farmhouse built by the man that lived in it first
Okay.
100 and some odd years ago. So you can only imagine some of the things I deal with in that age of a home. And my sleeping space is in the living room, also the entryway. My children, I have 2 of them, and count how many bedrooms I said was 1. And they're teenagers. So but I lived in New York for 7 years, and let me tell you, I know how to I know how to pack some stuff, I know how to feng shui all the little
Mhm.
crevices of the home and everything, but that doesn't mean it's appropriate for a family to live in while
Mhm.
you're also serving 10 to 12 licensed childcare children. When I first opened, I was open 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Ooh.
After COVID, I was like reprioritizing my life because my children weren't babies anymore and I needed to get them to school. So
Mhm.
I opened this for my children also, so I could be with my children with a degree from an entirely different, also similar, because I'm always like, no, I did pedagogy, I taught dance, I'm a teacher, but I am a movement educator and I love making people move. I don't like to make my children sit here. We don't do a lot of sitting. You sit to eat because it's safer and less messy. But other than that, we're going to get up, wiggle, and all of that is just fine. Well, you know, you sit on the potty. We do sit. But the way they're doing the policy here, the deregulation, I did go into the State House and speak on that. I welled up in tears because I'm like, you're asking for more dangerous situations for children by adding 2 in July to the unlicensed family childcare setting.
So they
And
have 7.
they will be able to have 7 plus
Whoa.
whatever children are related to them.
Oh my God. So there's just
July 1st.
that is
Yes, I believe July 1st.
that's insane.
I could be wrong on the date, but I know July of
So did they give
2024.
a reason for why they decided that unlicensed should be able to have 2 extra children?
Trust the parents.
Oh,
Trust
but
the
they
parents
can't
to
trust
choose
us.
childcare.
Oh, okay. But we can't be trusted, despite the fact that there's many of us have been in this field and love what we do and stuff. So they keep, and I think this is the problem across the United States. They keep catering to those that might not get into the field with the best of intentions, despite the fact that not other professions don't do that. The way that other professions are built, it's to encourage people to keep moving and expanding and getting better. Why do we keep doing this to family childcare? Why, or childcare in general? Because they keep doing this across the board. ECE, they don't seem like they want to keep people going in the ECE field. And then I get all sad because I don't know if y'all have been on LinkedIn lately, but every time I come across something, it's like, hey, your degree matches this. You could be making $106,000. And I'm like,
They've been sending me those emails recently too. I've been getting I haven't been on LinkedIn in months, probably a year. And I'm recently getting these, oh, you could do this or you could do that. And it's like, yes, I'm aware I could go to my local school district, sub 3 days a week, work a grand total of 21 hours a week, and make the same amount of money that I do working 60 hours a week in my family childcare home.
Not to mention you
Is
wouldn't have
what we're
benefits.
facing.
yeah, and then you have benefits.
Yeah.
But then
Well, as a sub, I wouldn't as a sub. My husband has full medical coverage and we still pay a lot because we have 2 special needs kids. And all of the fun-filled life that comes with that. But yeah, that's exactly what we're facing. And in California, we are at a net loss each year of 20% of family childcare. So many are closing or retiring versus the very small number that are opening. We are still at a net loss.
and a lot of the ones that are opening are closing because they didn't realize what they were getting into when they started, because I don't feel like family childcare training or childcare training initially, because a lot of it is sunshine rainbows, here are the regulations, and then you're like, oh well, I can do this, and then later on you're like, oh crap. Oh crap, and stuff. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
So here in North Carolina, going back to the family, friend, and neighbor care, there have been people getting locked up, like for having children in their home, operating under family, friend, and neighbor care. So we know that this is dialogue that just recently, came out of the pandemic, because it's always been looked upon as illegal. But North Carolina, there's a program, it's a nonprofit organization in Durham, it's called MDC, and they are reshaping what family, friend, and neighbor care looks like in North Carolina by bringing in programs that are operating under family, friend, and neighbor care that's non-licensed, and they're working with them on the level that they are. And if they want to stay family, friend, and neighbor care, they're helping them to make sure that they understand and that they grow, they develop, so that they're offering quality care to the children in their care. And we know during the pandemic, we've had a lot of staff, a lot of teachers, a lot of employers that have left the field because they want to open up their little nanny service And nannies are getting paid twice as much as I am as a director, and they can do that, and not have any responsibility per se, no training, no first aid, no CPR, no infant SIDS. You just load them up in the car if they need to go to the doctor, or, you're their nanny, and you're able to make a lot more money here in North Carolina. And now we're seeing nanny sharing. So I don't know if you know what that is.
Yes.
But so that nanny sharing is real. And nannies may not have health insurance and 401ks. Well, guess what? I don't either. If you're independent, if you're not associated with the corporate, your family home, we don't have those benefits. I live by myself. I'm not quite married yet, soon, but I won't get health insurance through him. I don't have it through
I
my
heard
job.
that soon, girl. I heard
Yeah.
that soon.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, we've been engaged long enough. So yeah, it's time. But so until we get, it's an easy solution here in North Carolina, and it's pretty much easy everywhere. Until we pay a thriving wage to educators, no matter what you do, whether you're a family home, whether you're a center, a large center in a residence, until we get paid a thriving wage and get the respect on our check like we deserve,
yeah.
we will see this childcare crisis continue. And it's going to be conversations about having pre-K issues, you pre-K, because we don't have the staff. Why get a degree when you can go work in universal pre-K with that degree and get benefits? What is encouraging you to stay in the ECE field? There's nothing encouraging you to stay here, but you need it.
But that a lot of that also comes from the fact that they're not addressing the fact that not all children should be in certain environments.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
And family home is that targeted area. And I know that as a center provider. So if I know that as a center provider, the world knows it, and we know how important that is. And we know that's a generational for many people. It's a, multi-generational industry, people. I know a lot of women and of course we know that this industry is dominated by women and a lot of women of color. But these women, their mothers were caregivers, their grandparents were caregivers, their great grandparents may have been caregivers, and so that's been passed down, and now they're closing their doors and they're remaining silent. And I'm trying to encourage people that, like, let's not remain silent. If you're gonna go out, at least go out with a bang. Like,
We ain't going out.
don't.
We ain't going out. Emma, this is why we're not going out. Because we're the OGs of childcare. We have saved the butts of every other in COVID. We all took on so much extra on a dime. And we're like, oh, wait, all the school kids too. Well, alrighty then, here we go. Oh, and now I'm doing Zoom classes with my school age children, and they don't know what's going on, and I'm still trying to change diapers over here in the what's happening? And try to make a 3-year-old wear a mask all day, and don't let them touch each other. Did I mention this place is just 770 square feet?
Oh, the not having them touch each other, that was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm sitting there in a classroom and I'm like, hey, your friend may not want you in their face. Did you roll your eyes at me? Why
would my friend not want me in their face?
Yeah,
I don't understand.
no,
I got
You
one
explain
better.
that to me?
But they want to look in my eye.
Yeah. The children will walk up to you. I don't feel good.
That is how I got sick.
Sharing is caring.
Yes. The child walked up and said, Miss Tassie, I want a hug. Woof. I was like, oh.
No. Wait.
Oh.
It was the favorite part for me was make the 3-year-olds wear masks and then watch the 3-year-old proceed to chew the mask like gum.
Yes.
And, and then it gradually disappear into their mouth. And then later you would find it on the floor somewhere, right before or after another person decides to pick it up and put it on their face.
And you're sitting there like, yeah, I found your mask. You're supposed to wear it like this. And
I
you're
know they wear it backwards,
yes.
like it's a
But then
hat or
they don't want to put a respect on our name because I'm like, because we dealt with all of this with the parents and stuff, and the parents didn't move their children. But the last thing we're going to talk about real quick before we go out of here for the day is the fact that mixed age delivery and continuity of care are these are two reasons why people tend to centers and family childcare I feel like are the ones that see children from infancy until they are legally in whatever state you're in allowed to stay home by themselves. And sometimes if mama's strict and she don't trust her babies, they see them after that.
yeah.
Which we should keep, because honest to goodness, I would rather have a 12 or a 13-year-old learning home skills in my family childcare with me while we help the other children learn their life skills. That's the multi-age. We're families, we're communities. And to me, a little reference to our prior conversation is that the goal is to not have that. Like, why would you want communities learning to love each other in small environments and reaching out to each other and saying, hey, I know Tessie does, early childhood education and you're within walking distance, and, the closeness of a knit community, that's a very dangerous thing to have. And why would we be throwing federal dollars at building communities in this type of very fabric-y sort of way? We are the fabric. We are literal fabric. So
literally, if there was a provider near me that did infants, I mean, like my parents pregnant. Here, go down the street. She takes infants. Miss Tessie is not built for infants. I'm sorry. But bring them to me so I can look at them. But you have to stay here so I can look. And then they can go down the street. But that's what a lot of providers end up doing. They build these communities. They work with each other. They recommend each other. They go, this child is not made for this environment, but I think they might be made for your environment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and also another little tying of the knot is we see families face to face on our front porch every morning and every evening. We are directly connected to the nucleus of the family, whoever that main caregiver is of that child. And once they start doing institutionals and centers, like even the pre-K that opened up at my kids' school system, which I'm happy about because I know it's going to be a great program, but you're dropping 3 and 4-year-old children off on a sidewalk and a teacher's walking them in. The ability, you're not having a hey, here's how my kid's morning went conversation with the person picking them up on the sidewalk, which is probably not even their teacher. What I don't even get to find out or read the vibes, because I know you do, we all do.
Oh okay, yeah, from the parents and the children.
Yeah,
that's a
how did that morning go? Oh, everybody's looking rough.
I had one that dropped off and the child and the parent were not looking at each other and they said bye. And I was like, "Ooh, did we have a bad morning this morning?" They're like, "Yes, we did not have a great morning." And I was like, "All right, well, I know how to deal with this. We're all good." But I wouldn't be able to know that if I didn't have that direct.
And then when that child comes into your classroom and starts acting out the issue somehow, negatively, whether they're crying in a corner or lashing out at a friend, we can't tie those knots together. So now little Bobby or Susie is whatever your negative stereotype in your mind might be. And are you really giving that child the sensitivity and nurturing of knowing, oh man, for whatever reason, that their morning started a certain kind of way with the parent that you are very interconnected with, because you speak to them every day. Their situation. If there's dads and moms or grandmas, everything. You know everything about those families. And then you lose that. As soon as you get that 3 to 4 year old over there dropped off on a sidewalk, that disconnect begins. And the disconnect, I believe, is intentional, considering the nature of the United States of America and how we like to separate people, especially families. So it's
Do
just
you
an
have-
earlier separation. It's an
Yeah.
earlier separation, and it allows them to take parents' choice away. Because one of my arguments here is, if you are telling a mom of a 4-year-old that she doesn't have to pay anything out of her pocket to go over here to this place, who definitely isn't already doing a good job, okay, but it's a center, and it has a big name on it. But to come over here, a 4-year-old over here, they'll cover half of that. But then I got to figure out where to find the other half to continue to run a quality program, because I'm over here trying to have people have vacations, maternity leave, just, it's still a small business, just like the place with the big name on it. We're all trying to hire people, and the staffing part has negatively affected my health over this 15 years. I'm not able to get surgeries that I need. I had no maternity leave. I birthed my son on a Sunday, and I was in my classroom on Thursday. And that's unacceptable.
Yeah, and that is super
in the
common.
best country, the greatest country in the world, this is my life. What? I'm sorry. No, thank you.
That's super common for this field. People can't afford to just take time off when they have babies. And knowing how I was after I had my two, because let's be real, a lot of times the people, our partners are subsidizing our ability to stay in this when we have because if they have the insurance, we're on their insurance. If they have anything, they're taking care of it and stuff. Despite the fact that I'm the reason we have the house. Because
absolutely, I am the reason we have this house, because at the time when we purchased this in 2008, I was part of the teachers union. And so we were able to get what's called an 8017 in California, and we didn't have to pay mortgage insurance. So that 3%, we only had to put down 3%. The 80% was in one loan, the 17% was in another loan. So because it wasn't one huge loan, we didn't have to carry mortgage insurance. And so the 18% of that loan didn't hit until 5 years later. And then by that time, we were able to condense both loans into a lower interest rate. And so that was one of the things in the beginning, was that, okay, we got the loan because of me, but all of the names and everything are under him. And then they reversed 2 digits of my social security number. So then I'm the one that's paying all of these bills, and I couldn't even log in to pay it because they had the wrong social security number. And then we had to go paperwork, whatever. It was crazy. But one thing I want to, when you're talking about continuation of care in various care environments, I think care is really the key word here. You're talking about that child when they come in and they're sort of grumpy or whatever. We have leeway in our programs to address that issue that they had in the morning. And when you're talking about institutionalized preschool, they don't have that leeway. It's like, okay, you had an issue, but we can't change our schedule. We have to keep marching forward with our schedule. So they don't have that ability to really address the needs and the feeling of that child that we do in family childcare, that we know their parents. We can talk about various other things, whether it's to help get them on a better track, to essentially distract them per se, to help them change their mindset of whatever might be going on that morning. And they did a survey here recently in California, P5 Fiscal Strategies, that showed parents choose family childcare over centers and other institutionalized things if they have the choice. And so when you're talking about a parent's authentic choice, when you put financials in it and then take it out of the factor, that changes a parent's authentic choice for their children, because then they no longer have to pay for it, which we can talk about those philosophies all day long. But you're basically giving part of parents and saying, we'll pay for it if you choose our way. If you don't choose our way, then we're not going to pay for it. And so that puts parents in a choice of whether it's staying home with their kids, not being able to work, working, choosing unlicensed care, as we've talked about before. And the last thing, when we're talking about these effects of the UPK, here's some fun-filled facts. In Oklahoma, since public preschool was introduced, infant and toddler care to parents rose 55%. In New York, because of pre-K for all, it led to a 20% decrease in available childcare spots for children under 2 years old. In Illinois, during a 5-year period of the expansion of public preschool, it led to a 16% decrease in childcare centers. So this institutionalized care is essentially upsetting the balance of people being able to provide care for those infants. And all of the research that we've seen is essentially being ignored. The research that's going on in Tennessee, that Dr. Ferran is following 2,900 students from their institutionalized preschool through 8th grade.
Yes.
And they have shown that while this UPK, because that's how we talk about it in terms in California, this UPK prepares children for kindergarten academically. And there's really no doubt. However, once those children get into first, at the end of first and then second grade, they actually fall behind academically, and they become more behavior problems because they've not had those instances with young children, being a younger child and dealing with them socially. And so they've also seen, because they've had a control group, you can look up Dr. Ferran and Tennessee's preschool in Google. And so this was a lottery system. It was across socioeconomics. And with that, she says at the end of the article that those kids who didn't attend an institutionalized preschool, when that change happened in first and second grade, first of all, they caught up at the end of kindergarten. The fact that they didn't have the pre-knowledge before kindergarten didn't matter, because they naturally caught up so fast because how their brains are moving. And then in first and second grade, they actually academically outperformed the kids who had the free institutionalized UPK. And you may say, oh, well, that just wasn't a good UPK program. They weren't great. No. If you're familiar with UPK and early care, in theory, these programs base what they do on NIERS, N-I-E-E-R, 10 equity and quality standards for preschool. In Tennessee, they focused on 9 of the 10. So you can't tell me that, oh, well, it was that last one. That's why these programs didn't work. No, it's not. And so at the last section, and it's in various articles across the spectrum from NPR to other ones, Dr. Ferran says this program didn't work any better, and maybe we should just let the little children play, because the ones that were in family childcare and other venues outperformed them. They didn't need the institutionalized pre-K to come in and sit down, because they didn't have the bottom levels. Those are those lower brain levels, like we talked about before. Vestibular, operating in your environment, how your body works, because children are natural born scientists. It's not just the ability to poke your emotions and see how far you'll go over the edge before you yell at them as your own children. They're natural scientists in other areas. How far I have to push the car to run it off the edge to push it into my neighbor. How far I have to jump over this puddle. How fast I'm going down the slide.
Hole in my yard before Miss Tessie tells me I need to stop digging and find a worm and chase her with it.
Exactly. And they can't do all of those things if they aren't with children, just being children. outside in the dirt with those natural organisms, natural bacteria that we know, like what Kelly was talking about before, that the natural outside is refreshing, that our bodies need it, whether it's the fresh air, the dirt. We all know from having children, at the end of the night, when your kid is just the end of their rope, and you are too, give them a bath, because water is refreshing. These natural elements that we have in earth doing these things. This
And
is
you know,
what they need.
And also, I would like to add to that, and that was perfectly said, what you ladies just said about you pre-K. But there's another aspect that I see, and studies have shown that children that come up in early childhood education, they are great at self-regulation. They're great at conflict resolution, you know, socially and emotionally, like you're talking about, they are prepared. We know that a child will learn how to read if they don't have a disability. So teaching a child to read and write their name is not the important thing of our programs. Our programs are designed to let them play and to enhance and to facilitate their play through shovels or anything that Tessie can give her children to dig those holes, you know.
Right. They don't have enough bones in their
They
hand
don't.
at this
They don't.
age. And those
Exactly.
bones don't form until 5 and 6 years old. Those
Exactly.
skills that they need to sit in a chair and be still, they aren't
They don't have it.
available to be formed in their brain until
Well,
6 years old. But we're trying to
That's right.
force them to develop them earlier, but they don't have the materials to develop them in the first place. And that's part of where we're going
Well,
around
and I think a lot of the time the children end up not liking education or falling behind even is because they stop liking the learning process because
right.
they've been forced into a certain way of learning and stuff. Like we are learning about bugs right now. So I have to deal with for the next month being chased around by various bugs that they've dug up in the yard because they're going to search for these bugs. They're going to locate them. They've been locating praying mantises. We've had to talk about why it's not okay to trap the praying mantis under things so that they can keep it as a pet. It does not want to live there. We've had these conversations. We're planting things in our garden. These
How
are,
many roly-polies have they found? I think you need a roly-poly competition.
oh my
I
God.
think, tracking the amount, that would be fun because,
The
we
amount
could
of
definitely
roly-polies.
chart that and,
Yeah, so usually we see
Yep.
roly-polies around now, but because we've had so much rain, they're actually finding worms. So there are like 3 or 4
Okay.
huge holes.
You can make a chart. How many roly-polies versus worms, and then you can have Oreo worm dirt at the end of the gummy worms.
See, but I think this is why parents end up choosing the non-corporate centers and then the family childcare homes. They get
They financially can, yeah.
yes, because when they actually can choose these locations, these are the locations they want. They get to know the teachers. They feel like they're part of the learning cycle. They feel like that their children are actually having fun while at the same time learning. And I think my
They're
cat,
loved and valued.
yes, they feel included. This is what keeps them coming back. I get whole families. I get all of their children that come through my program. And it's not because their children are doing great at school. The reason their children are doing great at school is because they came here looking all clean and like they were ready for picture day and they left looking like dust bunnies.
Yeah.
as they should. As they should.
Yes, because they had fun, they learn, they dance, they're sweaty. We had fun. I'm sweaty, they're sweaty. We've all been outside playing. Yesterday, we didn't even come back inside.
For what?
But yeah, they were being loud the entire time during lunch, and I was like, we're not coming back. We're gonna do everything else outside. Have fun. We spent the next hour and a half outside. We literally came inside to have snack, get our bags, and then go out the front door so parents can pick us up. And they had fun and they told their parents about all the sand that they played in and that I brought out paint for them to paint on the easel and that they said they painted pictures. If I show you a picture of this easel, I don't know where the pictures are, but they said they're there. So I believe them.
Mhm.
But we are going to get to the end of this one. This podcast. I am so excited that we were able to talk about all of this. We could probably go on and on about all the benefits and what childcare looks like. Like, so we're going to talk about this some more over the life of this podcast, because I don't know about y'all, but I love my job. And if you're here
Yes.
on a Saturday morning, y'all love your jobs too.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Tessie.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Tessie.
much. And I will see you all next.
Thank you, Rebecca and Emma.
All right.
Thank you.
One
Thank
time
you.
before we stop, can everybody say chaos coordinators? 1, 2, 3.
Chaos
Chaos
coordinator.